Welcome to Failing Forward. This show is all about the other side of success. We talk to entrepreneurs, leaders, and innovators who aren't afraid to share the mistakes they've made. Because if there's one thing I know for sure, it's this. Every setback is just a setup for something bigger, if you're willing to learn from it. All right, welcome back to another episode of Failing Forward. We have today ice cream royalty in our presence here in the studio. I'm excited about this one. Adil and Leigh have been good friends of our firm, good friends of mine for many years now. We've been doing some cool projects together. I think there's a ton of opportunities to learn from the two of you and what you've done in your businesses. So welcome to both of you to Failing Forward.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
We're happy to be here.
So knowing you both pretty well, I know that you both live incredibly busy lives. You guys are everywhere. You've got two kids in college. You've got businesses. You've got community impacts. So, how do you typically introduce yourselves when people ask what it is that you do, the two of you? What's the answer to that question?
Well, I mean, for me, I love when people ask, what do I do? Because I get to talk about handles. It's, I basically, what do I do? So my family, I grew up with handles. It's been in my life since I was 11 years old. My parents bought the original store, in 1985, not to give away my age, but, so for me, it's just exciting to talk about what I do because I love handles so much. I've always loved it. And so, yeah, that's, and it's always a good conversation starter.
Yeah.
Especially, anyone around here, anyone from Youngstown, if I mention handles, we just, launch into a 2-hour conversation. I feel like, what's your favorite flavor? What's mine? What's coming next? Everyone wants to know what's coming next. So, I love it.
I usually try to jump out ahead with the medicine part and then preface, I'm a primary care physician, a quick little somewhat about that, and then lead that right into, and
handles.
We also own and operate, Handles ice cream stores, and my wife's it's her family's business and things like that, because that usually ends up stealing the conversation. Much more exciting.
It's interesting, although you being a physician is also very interesting, and everyone has lots of questions for him as well. So
right.
You could always just lead with, "I'm just a trophy husband."
Right.
I sugarcoat it with the the initials, the degree, but that's ultimately what it is.
They talk to me about the fun stuff, and then he gets all the serious stuff.
Right.
Oh, my blood pressure is higher.
Right. Yeah. After I could talk to him about eating all the ice cream, then they go talk to him.
Yeah.
I get the aftermath of the high cholesterol and the the weight gain.
No. That doesn't happen.
Right.
So, I mean, there's some really great stories that I've heard from you over the years about, growing up in the ice cream business. Mm-hmm. And, one of my favorites is the story of Alice, and when your father came in and bought the business and stepped in and was just observing how Alice was doing things.
Yeah.
As you might expect, a little old lady in Youngstown, Ohio, like all of our grandmas probably did when they made Sunday sauce, was a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
Right.
And so tell me a little bit about the story of like taking this from an art form that was Alice Handel to the science that ultimately became the business of handles.
Yeah. So, my dad, he's, to go way back, he's very entrepreneurial and was always interested in, restaurant business. He had some other restaurants before Handles as well. He tried his hand. He had a sub shop. He had a little deli here in Youngstown. A lot of different things that paved the way to Handles. But my dad, being from Brooklyn, didn't really, didn't grow up eating Handles like everyone else in Youngstown did. And when he first saw, Handles and like the popularity and everything like that, he was just so impressed with this business, and basically approached Alice originally with the idea of putting her ice cream in grocery stores. And that's kind of how the introduction first happened. He actually went to the grocery stores, the local IGA, Nemmens, like local grocery stores in town, and asked them if they would put Handels on the shelves. And they immediately said, yes, we'll take, as many quarts of chocolate pecan as you could give us. And, now you can't do that. But back then, you could get it onto the shelf. And he went to Alice with the orders. He already had the orders for all the stores. And that's kind of how the initial meeting happened. And she really took a liking to my dad and mom at the time. And it was just her making the ice cream. I mean, she had one helper. I believe his name was Ned. And I should have double checked with my dad. But it was her. She was probably maybe under 5 foot, tiny little lady. And she took out every batch of ice cream. I mean, he would help pour in the mix and things like that, but she had to take every batch out by hand. And she wouldn't let anyone else do it. And she wouldn't let anyone else put the flavoring in too. And as you said, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And that's how she did it. So when my dad saw the whole, one thing led to another, I guess, they had a nice relationship. I think that she felt she trusted my parents, and the relationship kind of just turned into, she was 76 at the time, and, probably was looking to retire, to be done. That's all she did. And my parents were there, and kind of that's when they negotiated the purchase of that one original store. But my dad always tells the story that she'd pour in a little of this. She didn't have a recipe book, so everything really was just how she was feeling. But she
eyeball on it.
Yeah, but I mean, she knew what she was doing because every batch tasted the same, and together they created the recipe book and the ingredients and the exact ingredients that we use now for any flavor that Alice made. Anything that we still have that was an original Handel's flavor, nothing has changed. And that was so important to my dad, to never change any of her recipes, because obviously she was doing something right. We've added flavors, go with the trends, there's definitely that sort of thing. But any flavors that she made that were popular, those recipes are from what they kind of wrote down on a little piece of paper as he was, she'd be pouring and he'd put a measuring cup underneath, to catch it. And they say, okay, well, I guess it was a quarter ounce of this, and they'd write it down. And that's how that kind of all evolved from in her head, thank goodness, to on paper. And, thank goodness that kind of the transition happened when it did. So for the next 2 years, my dad, he worked with her alongside of her for, well, I guess it was probably, up until that point. I'm trying to remember back on the timeline. But there was definitely, I think, a couple of years where they were working together, and then she finally, retired when she felt like it was in good hands. Yeah. But throughout that time, she was able to pass on all the knowledge, and luckily, Handel's is still,
And to add to the ingredients being the same, everything's still made on site, so no product is ever shipped or distributed already pre-made. So we have a production facility at every store, and it's an operation.
Oh yeah.
And that's something that like most businesses fail on. And we see this often in our line of work, is that people go in and they buy a business and they go in and they change everything.
Right.
And they make all these changes, and they change the name, and they change how this is done, and they change how that's done, and they try to do all of these things. And we ask them time and time again, like, why'd you buy the business?
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, if you're going to go and change everything, you bought it because something works.
Something works.
You bought it because you liked the ice cream. You bought it because everybody else liked the ice cream. Like, why would you change that?
And that was the big thing. And I remember that even from when I was, 11, all the way through my life, that was a constant. We never change anything that Alice did, and I think that's what kept it so true to its roots, and why people that had it growing up when they were a little kid, and now they're, Handel's just turned 80 this past year, and we had a big celebration, and that was really exciting. So, people that have been around since the beginning, and have had it back then, and they still, get their chocolate pecan, and they still think it tastes the same, We hope that's always the goal, is to continue to keep it the same, because she was, again, doing something right.
And that's what's important. I mean, if I go to a Handel's ice cream in Youngstown, Ohio, or I go to a Handel's ice cream in California or Nevada, or, they're all over the place now, you expect it to be the same. I mean, and that's what a good brand ultimately does. When you go to Chick-fil-A anywhere across the country, the chicken sandwich and the waffle fries are probably going to be about the same, and you're going to get your My Pleasure on the way out.
Yeah.
And, so
Right. For us, because we do make it in-house at every location, that's a challenge as well, because it really comes down to training, training, retraining. That's my thing right now. That's what I'm focused on. I said, this is the year of, even more so training and retraining. It's always been a thing, but that's, what I'm really completely focused on, because, obviously, just like the game of telephone, you tell somebody something and then they tell someone, the next thing you know, it's completely different at the end. Yep. So that could happen with the more stores you have, the more people you have making the ice cream, the more, that happens. Yep. So it's really important, that the training is there so that people are constantly learning how to make everything the same and to keep the consistency, so that when someone is having it here, it tastes like when they're having it in California, for example. Mm-hmm.
And I know the challenge has got to be, you've got, typically when you go to a Handel's Ice Cream, you've got a very young workforce. This is a lot of people's first jobs, so they're not only are you have the challenge of training and retraining, but you're also like teaching these kids how to work, how to exist in the real world. Right?
Oh my gosh, 100%. That I would say probably for anyone in like the food or retail or the food industry is staffing and getting them up to speed. And like you said, it is the first job for a lot of our employees. So when they come in, even the interviews, it's like their first interview. You're not even sure how to ask questions. Sometimes when I do the interviews, I end up talking the entire time. I talk for them. So how are you? Tell me a little bit about yourself. Oh, are you? I can tell you have this. You must love to play the piano. I could something. So I pretty much talk for them because they're so shy and nervous. You feel bad, but that's a big challenge. And then on top of that is the seasonality of our business. That's different than a restaurant. You pretty much. Maybe you have your peak times, holidays, and things like that where you're really busy. But, with the seasonality of it, we're super busy in the summer, and we definitely slow down in the wintertime. So we're constantly bringing in a new staff in the spring to gear up for summer. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like going to a restaurant that always is in their training phase. Yeah. So it's like we hope that our customers understand, which I think they do. Yeah. They know we have a young staff. I hope they understand. We try, and it's perfect as we want them to be, and I want everyone to make all the products exactly right and everything, but there's that learning curve, and then as soon as they're up to speed and getting it, they're ready to go back to school. And then we start over again.
And in Ohio, the weather gets nice after Labor Day. They're all back in school, and we have this month-long stretch of perfect weather. So that's another challenge that we have.
Yeah, for sure. That happens. The fall and the spring are always our most challenging times of year. The fall, obviously, they've all gone back to college, or just, they don't want to work during the school year. A lot of the kids are focused on school and all that, which is great. But we're still busy. It's like 85 degrees still, and we've got lines around the block, and so it's always, that part's a challenge. And
But there's something that I've noticed, because I've done my research. I've gone to many Handel's ice creams across the country. Just, we call it research.
Yes.
Maybe that's just the accountant in me trying to write it off as R&D expense. I don't know.
I like that.
So when I go to your stores, in particular, we frequent the Austintown location.
Yes.
Every time when I interact with people, there's a giant smile on their face. They're happy to see you. They're pleasant to interact with. Like, that is something that you're teaching these kids social skills, right? Yeah. And there's some kind of magic that you have in your store that not everybody has nailed, and not everybody in the quick service restaurant industry has nailed. What are you guys doing that's keeping people that engaged, that they're happy to come to work, they're pleasant to deal with, they're excited when the customers show up, they're grateful, they're thankful, they're all the things you want your employees to be?
I think you do a great job of just creating the culture of that with your above store employees, how she treats them, how you treat the employees when you go in. You're never too bossy. You smile a lot. I think that's somewhat contagious for them. So I think it's probably your leadership is kind of trickled down, in my opinion. So.
Oh, thank you. I do try to be very positive, all the time, because I tell my managers this. In fact, I just had a meeting with one of my managers yesterday, and we talked about all of this. Like, attitude reflects leadership, and that's just how it is. But that starts with me. So if I walked into the store all the time in a bad mood and I started barking orders, then it would take 2 seconds for the mood to go, from here to into the ground, And so I try very, very hard to uplift the kids in the stores. And I respect all the kids that work there. I tell them all the time that, I wouldn't be able to do it without them. And I couldn't do any of these things without them. I'm one person, like it's them. They're the front lines. Yep. These kids are the ones that are interacting with our customers. They are, they're handles. Yeah. So when we have our meetings, I tell them, we've had a great year, or we've had a great summer. It's because of you guys. Mm-hmm. It's like the mix and the ingredients that we use, that's one aspect of it, but it all needs to be put together in the correct way. And that's another aspect. So the ice cream makers, it's on them, they're making the product. And it's, it's easy to make a mistake and not make it correctly. Every single batch is made by hand, so there's that. And then the kids that are scooping the ice cream. So there's so many layers of it. And, but it has to start from me. Yeah. So I always feel that way, that, I have to, if I treat them with respect, I hope that they, then treat if I treat the managers with respect, they're going to then treat the employees with respect. So that's kind of what I hope for. So I'm happy to hear that they're very friendly. And whenever I do hear that, I always let them know, and I try to, let them hear all the good things, because I do hear a lot of good things out there. Of course, unfortunately, people like to say what is wrong rather than what's right. More often. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I try to share positive reviews all the time. And obviously when we get the negative ones, like there's something that needs, I read all the reviews. I love getting reviews, because I feel like I always use it as like a teaching moment. Mm-hmm. Or something, something, if there's something someone's complaining about, even if it's something that's like, well, maybe, like I could see why, maybe that person was in a bad mood just by the way it's been written. Mm-hmm. We use that as a teaching moment for everyone, and we go over it and we talk about it. Yep. So every review that comes in is addressed.
And the nature of our process of making the ice cream, there are a lot of inconsistencies, scoop to scoop, bite to bite, because it's not a machine putting the pecans. And I don't know if you're watching the TikTok videos of the production, but it's it's very handmade, and so there's areas with a lot of peanut butter and a lot of nuts, and then many gaps without. So you will get complaints about not having enough inclusion.
And if you're a handles junkie like myself, that's part of the experience.
Right.
It's like I'm going to get that big chunk of peanut butter.
That big chunk of peanut butter. I know.
It's the best when you find it.
I know, right? And it's funny because we have a handful of ice cream makers at every location, and someone's enough might not be someone else's enough, Right. So that's why the training and the retraining has continued. That's something, like I said, that I'm really focusing on. One of my employees that has been with me for about 15, 16 years, I moved her up, like above store now. She helps with the 4 locations, and her main job is just to keep training and retraining. Like even people that have been making ice cream for 20 years, which I do have. I have an employee 21 years, has been with me. My other district manager now, she's been with me for about 20 years. And then now this other girl that's now going to be doing the operations. Yep. She's my operations manager. So just training and retraining. So
we talk about the parallels of business and being parents. Mm-hmm. And like training and retraining is what you're doing as a parent. Yeah. Is that, my wife and I have this conversation all the time. We're like, why aren't these damn kids listening?
Right.
You know what I mean? Why didn't they get it? And we realize that we have to just continue to reiterate those points time and time again. And I see a lot of parenting that happens in your leadership is that, people learn from you because that's who you are. And then they see, okay, well, Leigh and Adil's management style is effective, and therefore that's the management style that I'm going to implement. Mm-hmm. We've seen that in our industry where people, they're dictators and they yell at people and they scream and they use power and they use this, that, or the other. And then, as the next generation of leaders is coming up, now they think that's the way things need to be done.
Right.
So you've created this like cultural death spiral in your business,
Yeah.
right? Because
100%.
you'll never get out of working in the business and be able to work on the business if you don't create that culture of just constantly improving, and mistakes are learning opportunities, and it's just it's something special. And I think, when I talk to people about the opportunities for franchises in the Handel's ice cream world, I say, generally speaking, when people are going to buy ice cream, they're in a good mood. That's a big differentiation factor between you and most of the QSR businesses and most of the restaurant industry is that sometimes when you go out to eat just for a regular dinner, you're going out to eat. You're not necessarily in a good mood about it.
Right.
You know what I
It's
mean?
not a treat.
Right.
It's like, you eat maybe 2-3 meals a day.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Because you need to. You need the calories and the fuel.
Handel's is a treat. And people are excited about it.
So you're in the right attitude when you're going. So at least then,
Yes.
the labor force can play on that, and it makes it, while it is hard because you've got young people that you're training and retraining, at least you have that advantage is that people are generally pretty happy. To go
That's
buy
true,
ice cream.
and we talk about that a lot too. I talk about that with the staff a lot too. We want this to be a happy place inside the store because it's contagious, and it also spills out of the store to the customers, and because they're coming up, this is a treat for them. So we want them to have the full experience. They come up happy about getting a cone, and then they come up to the window and someone's, in a mood. That's going to change things. So, I talk about that a lot at the meetings, and, how much our attitude inside. And it's funny because, our stores, they're inside, but I always say you're kind of like in a little fishbowl because there's 8 windows. We have 8 windows. It's, they're not in your space 100% because there's a window there, but everyone could see everything you're doing.
Yes. Yep.
Most of the time they could hear everything you're doing because the windows are all open. So we always have that conversation as well. And so keep it positive, keep it light, all those things. And so,
to Tim's point about everyone kind of wanting to be there versus a regular QSR, sometimes we'll pull up to a store and the line will be long, or she'll look at the cameras and see the lines are long, and she'll say, oh man, they gotta get this going. And my opinion's always been, I think they all want to be there and they don't mind it. It's part of the experience. You're kind of waiting in line for ice cream.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if you were in line at Chipotle, you might be a little annoyed by it.
It's
Handles,
it's
kind of fun.
If kind of a moment is the Handles line.
Right. Okay, good. Because I'm not on that side of it. Because again, since I started going to Handles, we were on the inside of it. So it's funny because I don't know the experience of being on the other side. So when I see a long line, sometimes I panic because I want everybody to be waited on right away. And, I get very, anxious about it. But it's true. And he always does say, that's part of it. A line attracts a line, or attracts more people sometimes. It's true. If you see a line at a restaurant, you're like, I want to go there because it must be good. So when I put it into that perspective,
the anticipation of getting ice cream and looking at the menu,
it helps. And there's so many flavors. You need a while to
You need
stand
some
up.
time.
You need the time.
It's overwhelming, even for me, and I eat it all the time. But
So I think people would love to know, what are your favorite flavors?
Adil, you go first.
Mine rotates all over the map, but I do favor chocolate and peanut butter. So chocolate peanut butter parfait is probably one of my favorite ones. If I had to pick one to go with just from here on out, but I'm a variety guy, so a little bit of everything. Whatever I see, whatever suits the eye, whatever she brings
Whatever
home.
I bring home.
I love it all. I
don't
grape to chocolate to pistachio. It's just so good.
I was shocked when we did a survey at Youngstown Clothing Company a couple of years ago on social media and tried to get an understanding of what everybody's favorite flavors were. There is a large grape contingency.
There really is.
Around here.
Yes. Yeah.
There is.
Yeah.
It's delicious too. It really
is.
Good.
Out of Youngstown though, not as much.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I think North Canton has a bit of a grape following.
Okay.
But I don't even think we were selling it in
Cleveland,
Broadview Heights. It just depends because we rotate flavors in and out, and if it's just not selling, no matter, no matter what you do, if it's just whatever, it just didn't pick up popularity. Not that it's not good for whatever reason. When those people looked at the name grape, they were like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
And when people in Youngstown look at grape, they're like, that is the flavor I want.
I think grape's one of the only ones that really you can't think of an inclusion to go into it that would be good. It's
It's just, and it
Not
is
grape
such an
something,
interesting flavor. It's not like a tart grape. It's just like a nice, smooth.
It's a smooth, subtle grape.
Yeah, it is really good.
Have you guys ever done like a, I've tried them all competition?
With customers,
Good idea. Yeah.
So many of my employees have asked if we could do that.
Yeah.
I know.
Like a badge again or something.
We have not, but we need to because one of my employees recently said something like that, and I think they participated in something, but this was before they started working at Handel's at a different place because they just loved ice cream, and that's why they wanted to work at Handel's. But I love that idea, so maybe we'll do it.
It's a great idea.
Golden Handles ice cream card for those that
try every
Yeah, I
flavor.
love it. That's a good idea. Right.
And really, there's no bad flavors. They're all good.
Yeah. So what's your favorite?
Okay, so I always go with butter pecan. I always go back to it.
Okay,
That's
DOG.
just staple. And then I rotate also. Like, I don't know. I went through like a strawberry cheesecake phase for some reason, which is not something I would normally like. I don't know. I just kind of go the seasonal flavors.
Yep.
Excuse me.
Yeah, you do go through phases where you are in love with one flavor, and then all of a sudden I don't see it in the freezer for another 3 months.
My wife's the same way. My wife's very seasonal about it. She's a huge blueberry cobbler fan.
Oh, yeah.
And
I love
she
that one
gets into
too.
the apple flavors in the fall.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Right.
I'm a Graham Central Station kind of cat myself. I mean,
good.
Deep Cut is the Nutter Butter. It doesn't come out that often, but
From the vault.
Yeah.
Yes, that one needs to come back.
Yeah. It's good.
So I've seen some pictures, Leigh, of you behind the counter working in Handles at a very young age. At what point in time, as you're growing up in high school and college, because you've had a cool career journey with the music and the kids storytelling and all that other stuff too. Like, when was the moment where you're like, Handles is what I want to do?
Excuse me. I would say when I was 11, like when my parents first bought that original store, I wanted to start working right away. I was a little too young. I don't think I even reached the countertop. So I had to wait till I was 13. And then when we opened the Liberty location, which is where I grew up and where Adil grew up together, and started working there. Loved it, worked all through high school. College, worked all through college, managed the stores during college, the original store I actually managed, and moved away briefly and to California for a little while. And that was a good experience for me to just kind of get away from everything, just to kind of get out
of Youngstown a little bit.
Yeah, I had to appreciate what was here. And so when I came back from California, I knew I wanted to be a part of Handles. Like, I wanted to work on the other side, like in the corporate office. And that's what I did. And that was right when we started to expand. It was 2000. Well, actually, it was 99, I believe, when I came back. And I think from around 2000 to 2003, we did kind of a rapid growth. It was rapid growth for us at that point. I think we opened about 7 franchises. And I was a big part of all of that, training them, and from the very beginning, training the new franchisees, helping them open the stores, going to, really opening the stores. Because back then there wasn't that many of us. So like I'd get there and it would just be all boxes,
How many stores was it at when you came? It was maybe 3 stores when you came back
When I came back, from California,
so
we had the original.
Essentially tripled your...
we just had the original store. We had the Liberty store. And maybe the Creekside.
That might be it. Creekside, Canfield, I think,
Yeah. And so, it was pretty big expansion for us like that. And it was really exciting to be a part of it. And, I pretty much, I knew that's what I wanted to do. But I always, even when I moved to California and I tried my... I went out there thinking that maybe I wanted to have a singing career. Of course, that's much easier said than done. And I didn't even really to go to any audition, anything. You know, I ended up working and all that kind of stuff. And it was a great experience. But when I, even in the back of my mind when I was out there, I knew that I wanted to come back and be a part of.
She debated trying to open one in California.
Oh, yeah. At one point, I thought.
It had been a lot of risks. We didn't know if it would do well in California and how it would be received. It turns
remember the phone
turns
calls
out very well.
To my dad. I was like, I just really think a Handel's in Manhattan Beach would be amazing. And I pictured myself there on the beach, you know, the whole thing with the ice cream. And he was like, no, it's too far. You got to come back. So it worked out really well because I came back home in 99. And I moved back to Youngstown right when Adil moved back to Youngstown. And like we just like a week apart. And we grew up together and knew each other, you know, our whole life. We were in the same friend group.
JCC.
Great friends.
Preschool, I think, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
All the way from
summer camp.
Kindergarten and even like the summer camp at the JCC we did.
Tauntaun. It was the summer little day camp. Yeah.
That's right.
Kickball.
So we go way back, and so I moved home. And I happened to be at Handel's in Liberty, and Adil came up to the window to get ice cream, and
I'd been home for 4 days maybe or something like that, but knew I was going to be here for a while doing rotations and residency and all those things.
Right, and I didn't know he was moving home
Most
at
of our
that
friends
time.
had moved on to other places and, you know, didn't know a lot of people still.
Yeah, and I thought, oh my gosh, you know, going back to Youngstown, and it's, you know, great, I want to be part of Handel's, but, you know, all of our friends have moved out, and then, he came up to the window, and I always tell this story, but I was like, oh my God, this just changed my life, you know, that he was in Youngstown. He's like, I moved home, and I'm like, oh my, you know, I was so excited to have a friend, like, that was there, you know, to hang out with, and and that's what we did.
And we hung out every weekend.
We went. We
moving forward
mutual friends
since,
and all that, and so we both kind of came back to Youngstown. You know, him with his to do medicine and his dad's practice, and me for Handel. So.
And so, how long after was this official, the Adil and Leigh partnership that got kicked off?
How long did?
So I don't know. We were. Probably.
Yeah, it evolved over a couple months, maybe. I don't know.
Months-ish.
So our friends, you didn't want to, you know, ruin that. Once you realized maybe there was something more, you didn't want to ruin that, take that risk and ruin that friendship bond.
That was a fear for sure.
Yeah.
You know, because we were really great friends, and you know, he even came when I lived in California. He even came out with his parents at one point, and you know, we hung out there, friends. Like we were really, really good friends, and so there was that fear that I didn't want to ruin that. You know, we didn't want to. Yeah. But then we decided we didn't know what worth the risk.
We didn't know what each other were thinking about the situation, so we had to approach it slowly.
We talk to people a lot about this. Like, you know, choosing your partner is like the most important decision you're going to make as an adult. Like your partner at home is a big deal. Like if you want to accomplish something in the world, having that good partnership at home is what can get you through this. Right. But you guys decided to take it up a notch. Right. So it's like, you know, you've known each other for forever. You're dating, you're getting serious about this. And then, you know, down the road, you decide to take the next step, which is go into business together. Right. So, I mean, that's something that is interesting to watch. Like not all couples have this. Not all couples can figure out how to manage this. So, you know, what are the lessons that you've learned along the way in doing business together that you would give other couples advice to say, hey, do this, don't do that?
Well, the when we got married, it was just a whirlwind because we went marriage, I don't know the exact order, marriage, buying a house, opening the store, pregnant and first child in a 15-month span or 16-month span.
It was all within 1 year. It was
quick.
Yeah. We got married
one thing after another.
2003. Yeah. April of 2003. We opened Handel's in July. We bought our house.
Yes, it was under construction while we were getting married, so we were also kind of overseeing that project.
Yeah, and then because we were like, you know, we were going to get married because we've known each other, but then we date, you know, then even after that we dated for a while too. We were ready to get married. Let's start a family. The whole works. So we were ready to go. So we got married, bought a house, opened the business, and then we had our first son, Jaden, on April 21st. We got married on April 26th. So all within that year, all of that happened. So that was just and
I was in residency, so I was still doing every fourth night, sleeping at the hospital and, you know, 36 hours up. I mean, that was a crazy
It was a
whirlwind,
And there's something to be said about like that level of busyness is that when you're friends for that long, and my wife and I have been together for 20 years, high school sweethearts, like we were friends long before we started dating and whatever else. It's like you can get through that difficult stuff together much easier. And you realize now you've got a superpower is that you could do certain things on your own. Yeah. And now it's like, holy cow, what can we accomplish together?
Synergistically, right?
And to start off right out of the gates like that is, to take a huge risk and to buy a house and to build a business and have a child.
And I will say that I actually remember the conversation that we had about opening the Austintown store, because I was working in the corporate office, with my dad. And, and I was opening stores and I was on that end of it. And we knew we wanted to start a family, and I wanted to still be a part of Handles, but I was traveling too, like opening these stores and things like that. And I remember having the conversation where you're like, I feel like we should open up our own store and it would be perfect. And, if we have a family, it would be great flexibility for me to be able to be home with them, but then have, my own store here. And at the time I was opening, one store after another. So it was kind of like second nature. I was doing it for other people. Why not? We should just open our own store. Yeah. Essentially like a franchise, store, which it was, of the family business. But that's what we did. Yeah. And it was the best decision. But that was actually your prompting to do it. I still remember having the conversation kind of like, yeah, you're right. Why don't we do that? It was the best decision because I was able to be home with the boys, and they're only 16 months apart. So it was Jaden and then Jace, 16 months later. And so, we had our hands full, but I felt like luckily the experience I had with Handles for all my life, helped so that it wasn't as overwhelming as it probably should have been. I didn't even
really think about that, is that you've had this experience basically managing children. And these kids and these adolescents in business and getting them started their first job. And now all of a sudden you've got to be a parent and learn how to do that. Like you had a bit of an advantage there, is that you were kind of already parenting to some degree.
I never really thought of it that way, but I like
most people get dogs. But we
had a dog too.
Yeah, we did. But
definitely did.
When you were opening those stores before we were married and have our own, we'd go on like a date out to dinner or something like that, and then you'd want to go check up on some of the franchisees. And I remember one time we drove maybe to Akron or somewhere like that. And you were in the back of the store scooping and helping a franchisee that, off the clock.
That needed help.
And I would just kind of hang out in the back and watch you, and then we'd leave. And so you were definitely,
hands
treating
on.
each franchisee like a child, but a family member that you cared a lot about.
Well, yeah, because, you're teaching them every step of the way from the very beginning when they walk in, like someone who has no experience with Handles and ice cream or anything, but you have to teach. And there's a lot to learn with a Handles location. People I don't think always realize that as a franchisee going in.
A lot of them would leave corporate jobs, or maybe they had, a normal 9 to 5 or 8 to 4 or whatever, and then not realizing, okay, when you go into this, yes, you'll learn it, you'll do the training, but what you don't realize is at 10 p.m. when you close and 11 p.m. you leave to clean up, you're coming back at 8 a.m. to start making ice cream again. So that the first store for everybody it's tough. Yeah.
7 days a week.
It's nonstop.
No off day.
As everybody knows in the restaurant and food industry. That's
well, I mean, like what the unfortunate thing is that franchises are viewed as an easy button.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So like, if you want to take the hard route, you start your own brand and you build that up from the ground. And a lot of people view that franchise as, well, I'm just going to slap this easy button.
Less risk of failure.
I see all these other things. And, but it does require just being an entrepreneur, being a business owner requires a different level of tenacity. But the thing that I find unique about Handles in terms of the franchise itself is that, there's an incentive for you to protect something that's more than the business. Mm-hmm. Right. There's this legacy. There's this pride in what Handle stands for and what it does. And that's hard to replicate. You go and you don't, that's not a McDonald's thing. Yeah. The McDonald's franchise and Subway franchises and Chipotle franchises, like they don't necessarily have that semblance of that family legacy to be protected. Yeah. And I can see that passion in you in trying to help those other franchises to understand, I have a responsibility to make sure you don't screw this up.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's 100%.
Nailed. 100%. I mean, I would sometimes, be in tears, like, oh my gosh, like, I just don't know, like, are they going to be able to do it? It's like taking your
Right.
baby, like, are they going to be able to keep it the way it needs to be? So I am that way. I've always been that way.
And
still that way.
as the corporate office grew, you can't have failing franchises, because then that just kind of, ends up taking a turn for the whole company.
Right.
Too.
Yeah, you don't want that. You want to, and we were expanding outside of our market at that point. We were expanding really outside of Youngstown. That was when all those stores, and 3 of which now we bought, we took over. So Broadview Heights, North Canton, and Northfield were all stores that I helped open with other franchisees, and for various reasons retired. It changed hands, and then we had the opportunity to take it over, which was great. So kind of a full circle type of a situation. But that was the first time that we were going to be outside of really the area for the most part, like that far outside of Youngstown, even though it was only an hour, but it felt. Right.
But it's a big risk, because what happens in Akron is viewed as what happens in Austintown. If I go get an ice cream cone in Akron and it's not good, then it's a negative reflection of the overall brand. So it's a hard thing to balance as you're scaling. And now Handel's is up to
170, I think.
106. Wait, what?
170-ish locations.
Like close to 170, maybe 160 something.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that is remarkable.
Yeah,
I mean,
it really is.
I know.
Just from the outside, like there are those of us that are proud of our Youngstown brands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to see that happen and to see that grow,
Yeah.
like, I think there's a
100%.
lot of people that just believe in that. And are
Yes.
proud about it.
And a lot of people in other states don't realize it's from, if you ask people in California, they just assumed it was started in LA somewhere, and that's what it is,
Right.
Oh, they definitely
Not
think
knowing
that.
all the history.
yeah.
They definitely
They wouldn't think
that.
that it would come from Youngstown.
No,
Right.
no.
Couldn't come from here, right?
Right. Yes. They definitely think they founded it.
So one of the things that we try to kind of point to on this pod is, like, we talk about failures and we talk about the lessons that we've learned from them, because so much of the world that we live in now is a social media world where you see the fruits of people's labor, but you don't see the labor that went into creating those fruits, right? You see the vacations, you see the happy pictures, you see this, that, or the other, but you don't see that 7 days a week scooping ice cream and learning those hard lessons along the way. So was there anything that you can look back to in those early years of whether you were helping open franchises or you were taking on your own stores? Was there anything that you would look back to and say, this was a big moment that we failed, or we did something wrong that was a pivotal moment that we learned from, and of what the future of what Handles has become?
So, as far as like for us, with our location, because I would say that because we were so busy, we opened, there was so much going on, we opened the store, and then I had 2 babies, and it was a lot. I feel that there may have been a time where, I was maybe a little bit, the store was maybe on autopilot a little bit too long.
Sure.
So that would have been something that, it was a challenge, I guess, back then. It definitely was challenging, to kind of manage everything. So something I learned is that you really can't do that.
Yeah. Right.
You just can't,
Yeah.
as much as, you have to have everything in place if you're going to take a step back, which is not that I'm taking a step back, but kind of where I am with the 4 locations that I have now. I have people in place now that, can help me do things that I want to do. So it's not just me doing it, and I'm able to kind of manage, and we've gotten to that point, So I guess it put it into perspective, like what to make sure that I have the right people in the right places, and that sort of thing.
And then complacency is dangerous.
Yeah, right.
Is that the minute that you start sitting back on your heels, whether you're selling ice cream cones or you're a physician and you start kind of just doing, the bare minimum to get by, then there are long-term ramifications from that.
Right.
And it takes a long time to fix it.
Yeah.
And that was something that, because, I did it for so long, and it was like second nature.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, my focus, of course, 2 babies, like I've never had, it was like my first son, my second son. And, my focus was there for a little while. And I'm glad it was, but, you just kind of learn how to manage it all. And then after that, we put some different checks and balances in place. Let's just say that, maybe we both you were doing your residency at that time too. So it was residency for him.
I was busy and didn't have a lot of flexibility. So she was the one, at home with the children. So it was hard for you to do both at the same time, and you had that flexibility that I probably didn't.
Right.
So we did it at the expense of spending time with the kids, but
right. Yeah. No. Well, I mean, yeah.
So
we were with the kids at the expense.
So worth it.
Handles
but from the business aspect, that would be smarter business not to. But so there's a work-life balance, I guess. That,
and it gives you the ability now to coach others. And say, this is because these life events are inevitably going to happen to everybody, right? Things are going to get busy, or you're going to have family pass away, or family get sick, or have other life events that just come up that is going to inevitably take your focus away from your business. So being able to coach people through, hey, we lived through this. We did this, and here's what we did differently. And, as long as you keep it somewhat on the rails, then you can bring it back in, and you can rein it back in when you've got the time to refocus and pivot.
Right.
Sure.
Right. Yeah. And just putting different checks and balances. And I think also even, some of the stuff, the financial stuff, that you guys are, can do for us as well. You know what I mean? Just like those types of checks and balances.
We have a different level of complacency that we could, approach now. Obviously, you have great above-store employees that are managing things of the things you used to neglect. Now, those aren't neglected, but we might neglect our labor costs or this cost or that cost.
Right. And there's just an ongoing, that those are just ongoing challenges that you're constantly trying to balance.
Right.
But people sometimes think that you're just going to plug and run.
Right.
And that's just going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing that we always try to talk people through when they're getting into business, period, whether they're buying a franchise or starting their own thing, is like, you can't take your eyes off of this thing for a while. There's a lot of, again, correlations to being a parent and a business owner. Is like when the baby is very little, you can't keep your eyes off the thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? It needs you. It depends on you. Got to feed it. You got to change its diaper. You got to make sure you burp it. You got to do all those things to the baby. There is a lot of those correlations to the business.
Absolutely.
And then eventually the baby walks. Right? And then eventually the baby talks, and then eventually you've got Jaden and Jace that are towering over other children, and, just being wonderful human beings, and they're out in the world doing their own thing. So the evolution of children, and the evolution of business, is very similar.
And that's interesting because that's when we decided to purchase the other, it started with Broadview Heights was first in 2021.
And so that was when I think our oldest son just got his driver's license. Which
Jace did, our younger son did.
Oh, sorry. So Jaden was starting to look at graduating, and Jace got his license. So
Jace got his license.
All of a sudden, freedom of not carpooling as much, and
you're no longer an Uber
driver.
Right.
And it worked out perfectly because I remember it was like right when we really took over that store was right when Jace got his license, and it couldn't have been more perfect timing. And I mean that was kind of what I was planning because I was in Cleveland all the time, and before that, he was involved in all the sports and everything, and so I wouldn't have been able to take him. So it worked out. So that it was like just like that, eventually it was like they were ready to go off and do their thing. And we were able to, then I got a little bit busier then, with handles, got a little more handles. They got a little more independence.
Yep.
And it allowed you to also have a lot of your employees that were with you for a long time, kind of give them more responsibilities and roles that were kind of in their own growth, which is nice. Yeah.
Yes. And that was another big thing, another reason why, I really did want to take on another store or two, or I didn't know how many. I thought just maybe the one at first, and it kind of grew from there. But I've had so many employees. I have a handful of employees that have been with me for so long, and with just one store, there's only so many places you could go.
Right. Yeah.
It's like the head manager. That's really all that we could do. Like there's no other position.
Yep.
And so it was really rewarding for me to be able to, with having the 2 locations and it being an hour away, the one in Cleveland, that I was able to take my store manager and bring her up, and she then became my district manager. And then she helped me oversee both of those. And I wouldn't have been able to do it without her, all the other three or the other two as well. Yeah. So, that was a big part of why I wanted to do it.
And that's a funny part of like business growth is that sometimes you get to the point where, and I've said this out loud to people and they look at me like I'm a crazy person, is that, I have to keep growing the business because I have a responsibility. Mm-hmm. And they're like, what do you mean? That sounds greedy. It sounds like you want more. It sounds like you want this, that, or the other. But no, I mean, I have great people in my business. You have great people in your business. Yeah. And you want to keep providing opportunities for them.
That's it.
And so then when you see the opportunity to take on the next door and to grow and to promote that person and to change their life and to be, to have somebody working with you for 20 years is a really cool thing to be able to say.
Like pretty much, just seeing them almost grow up in a way, and just being so loyal and when the opportunity arose for Broadview Heights, I went to my district manager Jen and I said, do you think we could do this? Like can we do this? Like, and she was like, I think you should, let's do it. And if she said, absolutely not, I don't think I could help you. I would have to kind of take a pause because I knew that I needed the help. I wanted to make Broadview Heights the way Austintown was running. Yeah. And she was doing such an amazing job in Austintown. And it was running like a well-oiled machine. And I wanted to take that culture and everything that was going on there and shift that to Broadview Heights. And I was like, let's do it. Like, do you want to do it? And she was so excited and enthusiastic about doing it. And it made it so much fun. Yeah. And so she was just my like right-hand man girl, half of my brain. I always tell her, she just pick up where I left off. And that's how we took over that one. And then North Canton and then Northfield and just kind of hand in hand, like everything bounced off one another. So I really owe a lot to her for that.
So now you guys are in like the next stage of your life, right? You're kind of on the verge of empty nesters.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
And the Handel's ice creams of your locations have found some point of stability. Yes. Yeah. And so, what do you guys think is next for the Handel's franchise empire? And you see the growth continuing and where and what's exciting and most important to you guys over the next couple of years?
And we talk about it all the time. And do we want to expand more, take on more stress, but at the same time, more opportunity? In our current growth, we've been risk adverse. So none of our acquisitions have been at great risk because they're operating business models and we knew what they were making and, what our multiple of that was that we were going to pay for it and what that was versus the stock market. So they're very calculated, low risk investments that we then bettered and they became great investments. We debate all the time. Should we, take that risk or take that plunge of doing something that is, might have an impact on on debt and things like that or not. So we put the word out to other franchisees that we'd be happy to look at acquisitions and see if they'd be interested.
Yeah, I think if the right opportunity arose, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I think that it would, I actually love, it's kind of fun with the stores that have been already, operating and kind of going in and making adjustments and, seeing challenges and things like that and trying to make it better. I love that challenge.
I enjoy taking the lead on that part when we do have an opportunity of negotiating back and forth and making concessions for things.
He's good. He's good with that part. I just go in and say, I could do it, and we can just make the ice cream. We're going to do this, and we're going to do that, and then he comes in with the with like the numbers guy. So it works really well because he's much more analytical in that way and detail oriented, I guess, as far as just with the numbers and the financials and that sort of thing. And and I'm just all about the ice cream and the passion for it and the operations.
Right. That's the yin and the yang.
So I think it does really work, and we don't really butt heads much at all with it, I don't think, because that's like He's kind of, that's his lane.
Yep.
And he doesn't say anything to me about operations, which is good.
At one point, I remember I was going to do the official training, and I think I might have done it, but I was actually going to, start working the stores more to really understand the operations. And she said, "Nah, we'll just make that my thing."
Yeah. I'm like,
done. That's perfect. Yeah.
He's really good at a lot of things. He really is. I'm like, I think that we need to keep him in the dark a little bit here.
Right.
No, so we always tease that, I never really trained him how to do much, just, he could scoop and all that, but let's not get carried away.
Yeah.
Which works out perfect because when we're short-staffed,
I know, right?
You didn't teach me to do this stuff.
I don't know how to do this.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, I know. I really messed up there. Maybe that wasn't smart. But, so it works out. But I think it's good that way because then we're not, he's not trying to tell me about the operations. And I think you should, which it's good. I feel like that's my thing. And I don't get involved with the medicine side of things. You know what I mean? So we kind of have like our separate lanes, but then we come together on like obviously all the important big decisions about the business, about handles. And, I like to always, of course, get his advice on everything and anything that I'm doing, but, it's like the day-to-day stuff is just stuff I work on.
And what I find fascinating, I'll be interested to see how this plays out is, your boys have been around Handel's Ice Cream their entire lives now too, right? So, I've seen some cool pictures of them with some cool athletes in the Handel's Ice Cream locations, and this has opened some doors for them to have some cool moments growing up. What do they feel about Handel's Ice Cream? Like, is this something you think that they'll eventually want to be involved in, or they?
So I think we would love for them to eventually come to that conclusion, themselves that they'd love to operate these stores and maybe expand more. Maybe look at other franchise concepts or other things to broaden their portfolio. But we definitely want to encourage them to do whatever they want to do initially. So go to college, get an education. Get your first job, see how that goes, move on with education if you want to, live in a different
California
city,
for a little bit.
move to California, move to Chicago, move to New York, wherever, and do as much, see as much. Life's short. Make sure you make an adventure and get experience and do whatever you want to do first and get that out of your system if it is something you want to come back and do and not regret that you didn't do that.
Right.
So we're definitely encouraging that, and they do seem to want to pursue those paths because they're very fun loving and they like meeting people and they're very networkable and
it's an interesting thing to watch with family owned businesses is that the next generation feels an obligation, right? And like I see this as something that is exciting and scary at the same time because the next generation feels like, oh, okay, well, I need to do this. Dad doesn't have a succession plan. I got to come back and do this. Then to your point, that creates some level of resentment and whatever because you were forced into this. And in the same regard, there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've felt that along the way is that like there's a tremendous amount of pressure when, your family has built something and you're stepping in and you're taking over more and you're taking the reins and you say, it's like the old adage of I'm not mad, I'm disappointed, right? Yeah. Is that you don't want to disappoint.
Right, right.
And you want to just continue to have fun doing it. So that's a hard line to separate. I mean, were there moments through this for you, Leigh, where you took a step back and you felt like you had an extra weight on your shoulders because of trying to protect that legacy?
I don't know. I mean, I just, when I came back, I feel like, I was just ready to be immersed in handles, I don't know. Not everybody feels that way about their family business either, and I did. I always just kind of loved it. Yeah. But, and then having our own stores, then I was really focused on the stores in general. Yep. This Handles is expanding very much so now, with some help, as well. And, so, but I think it's going in the right direction. I think that the expansion is going well. I think that everybody has the same, passion for Handles and culture that should be there, with it. And so I feel, now I really enjoy it. I feel like bringing in back more stores into our lives too is a good thing, and that's
a way of personally retaining part of the business
right.
and
even
still
for
being
the
involved,
boys,
but yeah.
and being involved, and for the boys. And I think that they are interested. The older they get, the more interested, they get. Because when officially, like 100% growing up in it, I think, you just take it for granted in a way.
Right. Yep.
You know, like they didn't really have maybe the same feeling as I had, because I came in at 11 years old, and I remember walking in and seeing all these teenage. I was 11. It was like Alice, I think, only hired girls, up front. And it was all these like high school girls, and they were all like, looked so cool, and they had the red bandanas on, and everyone had big perms, with the huge bandana and the white uniforms.
We should bring back perm day.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
When I look back at the pictures, I mean, we all had huge perms, like huge hair.
Yes.
And then the bandana would just kind of like sit very lightly on top of the perm. So there was no holding the hair back.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
And nobody complained, I don't remember, about, like now you'd have to have the hair back and a hat, the whole, oh no, it was just all about our hair, looking cute and big. So anyway, I just wanted to, be a part of that from the time I was, young, coming in, impressionable like that. But, the boys grew up with it. And so, kind of took it for granted, I think, growing up. But as they're getting older, and now they're both in business majors, real estate business, they're in finance, real estate is their major, and they are now looking at things, differently as adults. Yeah. And I think they are really starting to appreciate, the business.
And our son, who's abroad right now, met another college student from California, and he mentioned that Handel's was the hardest, coolest, and most sought after job to get in SoCal.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
So see, it is cool, Jaden.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah. It's funny. Yeah. Yeah. See how cool it is? No, but now I think as they're getting older, they're starting to, realize, especially now that it's all over the country, it's pretty cool. So yeah, he's, on this semester at sea, and meeting all these people from all over the country, and a lot of people know Handles.
Yeah.
So how cool is that,
Right,
so I think he's liking that.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably a solid pickup line.
Yeah.
It's not going to hurt if you show up to a party with some ice cream.
Right. Yeah. Especially
on
the semester at sea, 75% girls are on the ship to 25% boys. So the boys have an advantage for sure.
Jeez, that's unfair.
I know, right? Yeah. Yeah. So.
Jay's joked when he goes on it in 2 years that it'll be 96% male when I go.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So I just kind of talking about, legacy and community, for those that aren't familiar, I mean, there's a whole neighborhood named after Handles in Youngstown. I mean, Handles has a huge, legacy in this community and stands for a lot here. And there's, all the fundraising that has happened over the years with the pint cards and the things that you guys have done for the community. Akron Children's and all. I mean, there's just such a huge fingerprint from ice cream on this entire community.
Yeah, it's so cool.
And I know the two of you both are still maintain that deep-rooted, community affection for this area. And just recently you were honored by the Chamber with the Spirit of the Valley Award. And I mean, it doesn't go unnoticed, but, what responsibility do you feel, as business owners that you have to your community? I mean, is that something that you feel on a day-to-day basis? And what does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, obviously, without the community, we would not be where we are today, but I mean, without the community is everything. Yeah. So, my dad was always big on, giving back into the community with Handles as a whole. Akron Children's was a big, and still is a big, he contributes, and that's, a lot to that.
And whichever, for the Austintown location, we feel very tied to sponsoring teams and players and having spirit nights and all those things too, to give back to the community as much as we can. Oh, yeah. And a lot of those, when we have, certain events like that, the discount we give makes it a wash for us, or sometimes a loss. So it's, we do it because we want to help and give back. And we started to incorporate that into the other stores too. So I think even in those communities, we're feeling we can create, somewhat of an impact.
Yeah.
I think what people look for are businesses that are socially responsible, right? People want to follow businesses that ultimately are socially responsible and giving back to their communities. Is that something that you guys have started to build into franchises in other parts of the country? Is say, here's the playbook. Is that these are the things you should be doing. These are the events you should be doing. You should be participating in community events and having these fundraisers and showing up here and there. Is that started to kind of infect other parts of the country now?
I think it has, and I think it's going to continue to increase with the new management as they're growing stores and trying to create that culture of still maintaining and feeling like it's a mom and pop ice cream store with homemade, inconsistent amounts of inclusions and things like that. It all kind of goes hand in hand. So I think that they're starting to put together that blueprint, as you said, more and more.
Yeah.
And we have an upcoming franchisee meeting, and I think that we're going to hear more about that through the social media impact and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I think, ice cream, it's something that brings people together for so many things. Yeah. And so it's like the perfect product to bring people together and to put out into the community. It's easy to donate ice cream. Yep. It's easy to give away, Handel's coins or gift cards for ice cream. I try to get involved. We try to get involved with, other organizations, the United Way. I think they do a great job. And, just other organizations that we collect for, different things. I try to get involved whenever I can. We get a lot of requests, and I try to honor as many as I possibly can. It's not even easy. With a gift card. We do raffles, Handles is always in the baskets. We try to do as many of those as we can, because it's just like a fun, easy thing to do. Yep. Get involved with the schools, with all of that. But I do think that a lot of franchisees are definitely taking that and running with it as well in their communities. I know there's a lot of communities in like the California stores, some of those stores that are doing very well. If you look, I think it correlates, like how well the store is doing also correlates with how much they are involved in the community.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of the stores, not all, but a lot of the stores have their own social media pages. We have like a Handles Austin Town page or a Handles North Canton page, So we could communicate with the community that way. Mm-hmm. Which is really nice. So post pictures of the kids after the Little League game, or even pictures of the employees, like so that the parents get involved, like if their child works at Handles, which is fun, and so all that kind of stuff. So I feel like our business kind of just lends itself to that sort of environment. So it makes it really fun, and I also think it's rewarding, to do that, because obviously, we wouldn't be able to do anything without the customers. We have such loyal, amazing customers.
I mean, I see them standing outside in a 25 degree,
it's amazing.
snowing, and there's
sideways.
Still a line outside here in Youngstown.
Amazing,
we always laugh. There was like one time there was a tornado, like, what's the one where like they see it, like the warning or something? It wasn't even a watch. Like it was a warning,
actual
like
tornado.
coming down Mahoning. And I swear there was like a line of people still standing out at Handles. Like they wanted their ice cream.
If I'm going out with an ice cream cone.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
we always laugh. I mean, you can't even get, like sometimes the snow, you can't even get in the park. Like the plow truck wasn't even there yet. Right. And you see, tire tracks and footsteps right up to that window. Yep. And, that's another thing, like consistency. I try to stay open. We try to stay open every day. I mean, we're open every day. But even when the weather gets bad, we don't just close early.
Yeah.
You can't do that. Like you have, even in, unless it's, the weather's dangerous. Then you got to let your kid, the kids go home. But, if it's just like a slow day or it's like really freezing cold, whatever, we stay open. People keep coming. They come.
Yeah. Yep.
So, we try to stay consistent with all of that. And so everyone knows if you're in the mood for Handles, you're going to go and it's going to be open.
It's going to be
open. You're going to get it.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. It's like the Postal Service.
Yeah.
Right.
Rain, sleet, snow,
Yeah.
whatever.
We're
Handles
there.
is still rocking.
Right.
We're there. Yeah.
No, I mean, my hope really in this is that I'm excited to be joining you guys this year at the owners conference and meeting a lot of new franchise owners and telling the story of some of the stuff that we've done and worked with you guys along the way. But I mean, I think this is one of those moments that I hope that we'll circulate this content within that group, because there's lessons to be learned from you guys about this, and I think community is a big one. I've seen stores opening in new locations and parts of the country that are not familiar with Handles.
Yeah.
And they need to understand that, this community aspect is a huge deal.
Right.
And it is hard work, and you're going to need to build the brand, and you're going to need to show up, and you're going to need to be present for these community events. But that doesn't cost a lot of money.
Right.
It costs a lot of time. It costs a lot
Right.
of energy. It's you have to be very intentional in that strategy, but that's where you got to start.
That's it. And like you said, the like the pint cards, for example, not a lot of stores outside of this area do the pint cards. I would say that really originated here with corporate stores, but a lot of the new stores really aren't doing them. They, it's just not something that the program probably needs to expand a little bit, and we need to work out a few kinks. But I feel like it's something that is just really a great way to get involved with the community. Like in Austintown, for example, every single sport organization, drama club, dance line, band, everything, everyone sells pint cards for us.
Right.
So everyone in Austintown is essentially selling our ice cream for us.
Yeah.
It's like we have all these salespeople out there.
Yep.
So it's really like the best way to get your product, if you're new to a community, to get your product out there. And I did do, I was really like pushing that when we went into the Broadview market, because they weren't doing any of those things, and they weren't really involved with the PTO presidents and the moms groups and all those things. And I worked really, really hard when we first took over, because the store was not at its potential, and I knew there was so much potential with that store. And I couldn't wait to get in there and just, see what could be done. And it's amazing what's happened in the last 3 years with that store. I mean, over doubled in sales. So it's just and I feel like a lot of that came from getting into the community, letting them know that we want to work with them. Pint cards is a great one. I know spirit nights are a really big one that actually I think a lot of franchisees do across the chain. Those are fun. It's you go there, you go with your team or whatever, everyone buys ice cream, and you get back a percentage of it.
Yeah.
So that's
or just
easy.
being there.
Just being
and
there.
showing that. And then you
Yeah.
make that part of people's habits.
Right. Because once they eat it once, then that's it.
It is kind of like crack. But much
Right, we don't
safer,
want to-
I
yeah.
think.
I know one big thing that they do.
secret ingredient.
Yeah, right. New openings is just honestly give away free cones.
Yeah.
So we have free cone cards, and I did a lot of those too up at the new in our the Cleveland market, just trying to get more people, more customers coming. But they do that at all their the new store openings. When you're in a new community, just give out hundreds of free cones.
Because once you've had it once,
Right.
you're toast.
Right.
I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There's no going back to
And that's the
whatever other
beauty of-
ice cream you're eating.
Yeah,
Whatever
that's
habit
it.
you had, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I know you don't like it less the more you eat it. You like it more.
That's a fact.
It is.
Yeah, you're right.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I eat it almost every day. I do it's quality control. I'm always quality
Yeah.
controlling, but I use the little taster spoons.
Yeah.
I don't get huge cones at a time, but
Yeah. That's awesome.
everything in moderation. That's my motto.
Well, guys, I mean, I was thrilled to have you guys here today. I'm excited to spend a little bit of time with you and the gang in Nashville coming up
Yes.
here. And hopefully,
Can't
by the time that this thing comes out, it'll be, right after that, we'll be able to get that in front of some people.
We're excited to see what
lessons
you have to show and do in Nashville too. I
Oh,
know you have
we're bringing the heat.
exciting products for the franchisees to enhance their business and improve, how efficient they can be.
That's right. We got two really cool things we're bringing to Nashville. We're bringing the coolest Youngstown collaboration of Youngstown Jordans, handles inspired, designed by Youngstown Clothing Company, painted by overall painting Pat McGlone, photos by Liam Briggs. So we couldn't have brought more cool Youngstown people together on this project.
Can't wait.
And then
So
launching officially Agent Alice, which is going to be the analytical ledger ice cream expert. It's an agentic AI solution for analyzing financial statements for franchise owners. And I think people are going to really love it. So I think we're going to have a good time. I think we're going to be able to help some people, and really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
We're really looking forward to Alice.
We are looking
It's going to
forward
really
to
help
it
us
as well.
enhance, what we can do
Yes.
too with our stores. So it's
Yeah,
great.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. And we're going to have some new, also, they're going to be bringing out some new flavors too. That's always the most fun part of any Handel's franchise meeting is the introduction.
Hopefully
the introduction to some
Hope
new
they let
flavors.
the vendors in on the tasting.
I'll sneak you out.
We'll bring you some out,
samples.
yeah.
I'll sneak you some samples. Don't worry.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. This podcast wouldn't be possible without Stonefruit Studios and Bentley Studios. If you'd like to support the podcast, the most impactful thing you can do is subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube, and leave a review and/or comment. If you found this episode particularly helpful, we also encourage you to share it with a friend or on social media. Until next time, keep learning, growing, and failing forward.